Hello, it is I, River of Saul, here to indict you with my second book review, which consists of, I think, around 5 books. And the first one we have is A Storm of Swords, also known as the third part in the Song of Ice and Fire novel series, written by George R.R. Martin. Now, what did I think reading this book? It's a very good continuation of the first 2 books. I'm not sure if you can see it. It really follows up on the plot lines that are in that book very well. And some of the characters in this book are very amazing. I didn't think of them as anything special in the previous book. Like Tyrion, yeah, he kind of is an asshole, but in this book it reveals his issues and delves into them a lot more. And by issues, I mean how he's treated by his family. In the previous book, he has like all of this power, and now after the Battle of the Blackwater, after he's lost like his nose, after his father has come back and took all the power that he gave him in King's Landing, he's kind of left to be more of a kind of what he looks like, and that kind of feeds into his inferior complex that he has. Also, the way he's forced into marrying Sansa also is interesting. There's also a Alt-Shift-X video done on the real Tyrion, if you want to check that out. It's a 2-hour long video, and it does an amazing job. I'll link it down below. Anyway, best girl in the book, Davos. Can't get enough of this man. Hope his plotline goes somewhere. Not like in the TV show. I recently saw the 22-hour video by Alt-Shift-X exploring the fake Jon Snow, which he kind of gets shafted in that, doesn't he? Yeah, so it's pretty common knowledge that every character in the Game of Thrones show gets shafted pretty easily, especially Jon, since in this book he loses Ygritte, right? He falls in love with Ygritte, then loses her. He's also treated as a turncloak, right, by his brothers. And there's some stuff that happens, like political stuff. And then he becomes the great Lord Commander, Jon Snow. And before that, he's given the choice of if he wants to be the Lord of Winterfell by Stannis. And he wants it. Like, we have the perspective of Jon Snow. We know what he's thinking. And we see like a dream of his, a memory from long back where he was fighting with, like practicing swordplay with Robb, and him saying that he wants to be a Lord of Winterfell, and Robb just kind of says, no, you can't, and says that Robb's mother, Catelyn, says he can never be the Lord of Winterfell, and that's just gold, pure gold, and the way it's portrayed on the TV show is tragic. It's a long book. It's literally 1,000 pages. It took me like not too much, but like 4 months to fucking read the whole thing, alright? I'm not gonna go back and do the whole work. And besides, I got other books to read through. Not read through, but to point out. Second book, The Witcher, The Last Wish. I found this awesome. There's a lot of stuff about good and evil and choosing the lesser evil. And I love that story. The story is awesome because Geralt is caught in between 2 horrible options, and he just refuses to commit the lesser evil, because evil, no matter how small it is still evil. If it's even the better option, it is still evil, and that dilemma kind of drives me nuts. And the end of it is kind of like a letdown. Like, I thought he'd like stick to his guns and don't make a decision, but he does, and it kind of reflects the world that he lives in, where even if you don't want to be a bad guy, the world kind of throws you into it, and you have to make a decision. And that is kind of like our real world, and that makes it so interesting. If you have seen the Witcher TV show, at least the first season, it's a pretty faithful adaptation, and you can just watch that if you want. Although the book kind of deals a bit less with Yennefer, like we don't get her backstory, it's kind of inferred to, and she only appears in the last one, where Geralt finds a genie. and some of the other stories are quite cool. Again, I love the book. The next book we have is The Art of War, and for this one, I've actually kept notes, so let me refer to those. Here is my first impression of The Art of War. It says obvious things that need a bit of observation, like knowing your enemy and yourself, how to effectively use your resources, make yourself look like the good guy, like the image of you is everything. And that is kind of explored in the Game of Thrones series, like how Tyrion is judged based on his looks and how he's treated just because he has dwarfism, and also how Davos is treated differently to all of the lords, and because of that there is like some discrimination against him, like people don't respect him as much, and how he is trying to pursue like this whole noble image of he's trying to read and trying to do good, and because he's the hand of the king now, he has like this ideal of who he needs to be, and he's trying to make himself better. Strike weak points and avoid strong ones. Pretty good advice. Use people who know more than you. Which, yeah, no shit. Most of this book kind of seems like obvious crap that you will probably learn by 5th grade. Because people are just keep telling you about this, especially if you have like family who's in business, or have friends that like doing business. And that's why I think a lot of people who are going into that career path use this as like, oh, this is the most inspirational thing. I have to wake up around 4 o'clock and read this every day before I go to work because I have to be in that mindset. Which, it kind of throws me off of the whole thing. It isn't a very long book. It's mostly just poems, you could say. It's not technically poems, but it has like... I'll read one for you right now. 22. He will conquer who has learnt the artifice of deviation, such as the art of maneuver. What does it mean? Honestly, I don't know. Okay? My brain no good. It'd be bad. It robbed a lot. Okay, the next book we have is Five Nights at Freddy's. Fazbear Fright, #1, Into the Pit. I've had this book for, I want to say, around 2 years. I don't know when these came out. And I decided to read it, and it is a chapter book. There isn't anything to write home about. It's kind of generic. And I couldn't really stand reading it, so I played it on Audible. And the voice for the narrator, I don't like her voice. That's all I'm gonna say. The stories, they're fine. I'm not a big fan of horror. I watch horror movies, and if I don't laugh, I think it's a bad movie. Asimov, The Stars Like Dust. I was excited when I was first reading this because I like sci-fi. Sci-fi represents what the world can be in the future. And this book, like, kinda explores some of the more interesting things in science fiction, like, oh, a train that goes through space, or, like, a galactic empire, but the characters are kind of shit. The plot is, a guy is a rancher. What's his name? I don't, that should explain how much I really care about the characters in this book. I don't even know the main character's name. There isn't really anything interesting about this book except for the setting. And the setting is a galaxy that humanity has conquered. There's this people who have basically taken over everybody. They've conquered them, and there's a rebellion, and our main guy is trying to look for the planet where the rebellion is. And that's about it. Nothing interesting really happens in this book. It's more of setup than anything else. That is it. Subscribe, like, share. Subscribe again. Then unsubscribe. Then subscribe. Go steal your friend's phone. Subscribe. Then buy 4 other phones and make 4 different YouTube channels, right, accounts, and subscribe. And while you're at it, why don't you cook some eggs and bring it over here? Bye. has learned the art of what? I'm not really good at reading out loud, am I? Jeez, I'm out of breath.